Hi, my name is Caroline McGee, and today I'm going to be discussing whether or not social media has a negative impact on romantic relationships in college students. The reason I chose this topic is because I feel like it's something that hits kind of close to home. In my past romantic relationships, I've seen a huge common denominator with social media being a big driving force in arguments. Now, social media in and of itself isn't a reason to argue, but it's the things that are posted or sent via social media that cause, I think, a lot of discourse in modern day relationships across the board, not even necessarily just college students. I hope that my findings ultimately help people in their romantic relationships and moving forward in future romantic relationships, and even just cause a little bit of self-reflection on past relationships, and see that maybe things might have been better had it not been for social media. For my literary review, I want to start out with an article called "The Impact of Social Media on Romantic Relationships," and I'll put the authors here. In this article, they conducted a study linking social media usage to satisfaction in relationships. And in this article, the authors claim that the study showed a negative relationship between relationship satisfaction and SNS, and this basically means that increased social media use and what they claim to be intrusive social media use led to less satisfaction in their relationships and feeling more insecure and less connected overall. Another article that I found and I want to discuss, it was an honors thesis from the University of Arizona by Ellie Jonko, called "Surviving the Digital Networking Romance." And in her thesis, she completed a study basically over the same premise as the last one, but her focus was on does seeking out information on your significant other on social media create more feelings of uncertainty in the relationship. In Jonko's findings, she said it best, so I'm going to quote her on this one. Almost all of them said social media had a negative effect for the following reasons. Lack of privacy inspires jealousy, can be misleading, and increases your insecurities. I really like the fact that she listed all of those because I myself have felt that way so many times in a relationship. Now, to wrap up my literature review, I'm going to go back to an article that we read in our class called "The Martini Effect in Social Networking Sites, Early Adolescence, Mobile Social Networking, and Connectedness to Friends" by Sally Quinn and Julian Oldmeadow. Now, to jog your memory on this article, the Martini Effect is essentially the phenomenon of feeling more connected to those around you by using a mobile device. In this article, they basically concluded that those that use a mobile device do feel more connected to their peers than those who don't. Now, in terms of a relationship, this would make sense because even when you are not physically with that person, you are still able to communicate with them. And this could be seen as a positive of social networking in romantic relationships. I really liked that the two articles, my first two, kind of had similar results, although their premises were a little different. They basically both concluded that social media does have a major harmful impact on romantic relationships. But I also like that the Martini Effect article kind of gives a little bit more light to the situation because, yes, it is harmful, but it also has a little bit of a, perk, being that you do have unlimited access to your significant other, even when you're apart. Now, for my research experiment, I decided to do a Google form with 8 questions on it, and I will show you those now. Please pause to read. 41 people responded to my form, so now I'm going to show you what the results were. It was super interesting to go and look at my responses. But the biggest connection I made or saw was that 73% of my participants said that they felt like social media is an integral part of modern relationships, which I kind of expected because, growing up on the internet as a college student, it's almost impossible to imagine what a relationship would be like without social media. But then to see at the end that almost 62% of my participants said that social media did not make them feel more connected to their significant other. Now, I think that this raises a super interesting problem because, yes, social media is integral, seeming as it's not going anywhere. And, if your partner's on social media, you kind of feel the need to be there too. It's not making us feel more connected. And almost 67% of my participants said that it hurts their relationships. And on top of that, general consensus that it is hurting our relationships, almost 89% of my participants said that, they found themselves in arguments over things that have happened in the realm of social media. And on top of that, 100% of my responders said that they prefer in-person communication. So if social media is not making us feel as connected to our partners and is causing so much discourse in our relationships, why do we continue to use it? I feel like the answer to that is pretty self-explanatory, seeming that most of us have used some form of social media since adolescence. So it's not going anywhere, and it will continue to affect our personal and romantic relationships probably for the rest of our lives. And, while it is super unfortunate that social media does have so many harmful effects, I feel like a lot of it can be avoided through effective communication and realizing that social media and social media posts and texts and things like that are so ambiguous that you have to be really intentional with how you, handle it. I hope that my findings maybe made you realize that social media is a problem in relationships, or it made you feel less alone if you've experienced those kind of issues before. I hope that moving forward, you are more conscious about what you post or what you text because, like I said earlier, social media isn't going anywhere. So I think we can all be better about being effective communicators and more empathetic when it comes to social media in romantic relationships.